Find the difference of two arrays. To solve this question, let's review the concepts we need. We will need to know one concept, which are hash sets. Hash sets have no order and do not have repeated values. What I mean by this, consider the example where we're given a list 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and I create a set, and I iterate through each element within the list and store it within the set. I start at 1. There's no elements within our set, so I add 1. The same goes for the first 2. However, when I'm considering this 2, a 2 already exists within my set. Therefore, I don't add it twice because sets do not have repeats. Therefore, I move on and skip it. Consider 3. 3 is not in it, and the same goes for 4. Therefore, our final set looks like this. We will use this to solve this question. The problem statement says that we are given two zero-indexed integer arrays, nums1 and nums2, and we want a list of lists of size 2. Each list will contain the distinct integers that are not present in the other list. So consider a nums1 where we have, for example, 1, 2, and 3. Consider nums2 having 2, 3, and 4. So our final result will be a list of lists, where this list corresponds to all the numbers within nums1 that are not within nums2. Well, let's use sets. Sets tells us that it can only have one of each element. So the set of nums1 would contain 1, 2, and 3. And the set of nums2 would contain 2, 3, and 4. To check which numbers within this set belongs in the final answer, we simply go through each element and see if it's contained within the second set. If it is, we don't consider it. We only consider numbers that are not within the second set. So 1 is not within 2, 3, 4. Therefore, we would add 1 to the result. 2 does exist within the second set, so we don't consider it, and the same goes for 3. Now let's consider the second set. 2 exists within nums1, so we don't consider it. What about 3? 3 exists, but 4 doesn't. Therefore, our final answer would look something like this. With this understanding, let's go program it up. So according to our logic, we need two sets. S1, we call it a set. S2 will be a set. S1 will be the set that contains all the integers that are distinct within nums1, and S2 will contain all the distinct integers of nums2. So for x in nums1, we would add each of these into our first set, and the same goes for the second list. So we can do y, you don't have to do this, but just for clarity. The reason why we do this is because, remember, sets do not allow for duplicates. Therefore, any duplicates will not be added within the set, and S1 will contain all the distinct integers of S1, and the same goes for S2. Now, we need to have a list of lists. So let's call res1 to be an empty list, res2 to be an empty list. For x within S1, if x not in S2, then we would add that to res1. And we would repeat this for S2. And I won't change the variables this time for the sake of time. So we just do res2 and switch up these values right here. Now, the reason why we do this is, again, we want to know which integers are not within the other set for each given set. So for res1, we want to know all the integers within S1 that are not within S2, which is reflected with this statement. If the x is not in S2, then we add it, and vice versa goes for S1. So now we just return it, and we do return res1 comma res2, and we should be good. So let's run it, and we're Gucci gain. So let's submit and see what happens. And there we go. 11 milliseconds, and we beat 39.48% of them, and that's your solution.